Welcome back to the Link lineup. This is episode 2. We got plenty to talk about today. We're going to go over some Kelly Green reactions, some of the camp notes from, I guess, the first week of training camp. I think it's the first week. Maybe it's a week and a half
Mhm.
now. It is Thursday, August 3rd. So throwing that disclaimer out there just in case anything changes. We're going to go with camp notes. We're going to talk about the linebacker issues. And overall, we're going to give you the stock up and stock downs of the players that are, worth talking about. With me today, as always, is Bryce Haynes.
So, buddy, how are you?
Good. How are you? You can follow him on Twitter at I am Bryce Haynes. And you can't see him yet, but we have our newest member here. We got Josh. You can follow him on Twitter at the pre2. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to get started with you guys.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm pumped to have a third person to kind of talk birds. It's a good time.
Mhm.
It's a good time as ever to talk to birds. So we won't waste any time. We'll hop right into the show. Unless you live under a rock, the Eagles released their Kelly Green uniforms, and to me, they look beautiful. Bryce, I don't know about you, but whenever I first saw them, I was worried that maybe they'd mess up like the pants or like the helmet, but
But
I think they did a great job.
that's what I was really worried about is that they would mess up the pants for the most part because back in the day, like they had the silverish kind of color pants,
Yeah,
and my thinking was that they might just slap a green stripe down the side of the white pants and just rock green and pretty much basic white. But I'm glad that they back the silver colored pants with the green stripe.
yeah,
But all in all, I think they did a good job with it. I think Nike did pretty damn good with it.
yeah. I think the Eagles have kind of messed up jerseys in the past. More specifically, the all black uniforms with I didn't like the white stripe on the side. The white stripe irritated me because we're going all black, and we even threw in the black helmets. So like, just make it black and like make it green, if anything. So,
Yeah.
so Josh, give me your opinion about the Kelly Greens.
Yeah, I love them. I mean, I've always been a big fan of alternate jerseys in general, and there's few, if any, better than the Eagles Kelly Green, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And it's been cool to see all like the throwback uniforms that the NFL teams have been releasing. I think besides the Kelly Greens, I think the Titans slash Oilers jerseys have been my favorite. But
Uh, I'll bring up favorite besides that was probably the old Seahawks jerseys. I like the blue and the green and the silver. Those and I think a lot of people had a lot of love for the creamsicle Tampa Bay jerseys.
oh yeah,
I've never been the biggest fan of the creamsicle.
I mean they're cool. Don't get me wrong, but I don't like I don't like it either. I don't like it either. But they might wear those to against the Eagles. Maybe, and we'll see those ugly things on the field. Uh, But overall, it seems like throughout the Eagles Twitterverse and or Xverse, wherever we call it nowadays, it seems like everybody was overall it seemed very happy with the release. We were at least I was skeptical because the Eagles social media team was like just teasing us and teasing us and teasing us about it, and there was always like this thought of, man, this could be a letdown. This could be like awful.
Yeah.
But somebody leaked it. We got to see it early, and overall, it was good. It was a good experience.
I think there was a good possibility that they built up too much hype for it, too much to the point that it would underwhelm itself just on how much the social media group and the fan base was so excited to see them. And they could have messed one little thing up on it, and it could have ruined the whole thing just based off how much hype was built around it.
Uh, I do think they messed up one thing, and that was the games that they chose to use the Kelly Greens in. We chose the Dolphins and the Bills. There's like if in terms of like schedules and basically like big games, these are not your big games. These are AFC opponents who, when it comes down to like tiebreakers, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So I don't like that decision. I wish it was like a Cowboys Eagles game or even the 49ers Eagles game, but um, overall that was the big thing that I think they messed up on. So with that being said, why not give the listeners a power ranking of your top 5 Kelly Greens to get?
I like it.
So I'm gonna let Bryce start first. Give me your number one, who, without a doubt, if you're buying a Kelly Green jersey, that's the one to get.
The absolute number one that personally think of, it's the obvious one. I think it's the one that a lot of people is going to is the number one Jalen Hurts jersey. As of right now, he's your franchise quarterback. Just got paid to be your franchise quarterback. He's best player probably on this team right now. So, I mean, and that one just looks absolutely beautiful in Kelly Green. So I think Jalen Hurts is your one option if you're going to buy one.
Definitely. Now, Josh, do you have a different opinion on number one?
I'll preface this with this. I'm usually not a fan of getting a jersey that a lot of other people are going to have.
Fair.
So I usually, like, if my first choice for a team's usually not, the star quarterback. That being said, I can't argue with Jalen Hurts at number one. I mean, face of the franchise, the number one does look great in Kelly Green. You can't knock. I mean, it has to be number one.
Right. And I saw somebody, people on Twitter were asking, like, who should I get? Who should I get? And I know somebody said these words. They said, don't overthink it. Go number one. Go get Jalen. And, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with Jalen. I don't want to dive in too deep into this, but if you had another jersey to get, Josh, who would you get?
So I would have to say my number two is probably Jason Kelce. Another face of the franchise, really. Great personality, has his own podcast with his brother Travis. And I love unique jerseys. Not everyone's going to go for an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And I mean, Eagles legend, one of the best centers of all time. Can't go wrong.
No, you can't go wrong. And I think when I'm building on top of that, I think getting the core four of Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and Jason Kelce, any of those four, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong at all with those. And so, Bryce, do you have another option?
So the one, I don't know. I think this one's it's questionable just because his contract status at the moment. But say DeAndre Swift plays well this year, they re-sign him to a 2-year to 3-year deal or whatever. I think that number 0 in a Kelly Green would look absolutely beautiful. That's just my personal opinion. This is the first year that they're allowing 0, so I don't know. I think that could be a pretty big option for people.
Yeah, for sure. Is that Booker back there?
Yeah, he's barking his head off back here, man.
Booker's going crazy over there. He's probably excited for the Kelly Greens as well. With that being said, I think my number 2, he never played in a Kelly Green uniform as far as I remember. He played whenever I think we changed to midnight greens or right after we changed. You can never go wrong with Brian Dawkins. The 20 will always look good on a jersey. And, he's a legend. And if you are one of those people that are scared to get current players' jerseys because you don't know what will happen to them, especially in this world of sports that we're in right now, you can't ever go wrong with Brian Dawkins, fan favorite, never. So we'll do this last one. So Bryce, give me somebody that hasn't been mentioned yet that you would fork over $130 for their jersey.
Okay, so I think my third option probably was well, I got 2 really.
Okay.
For one is Devontae Smith. I think that's an option a lot of people are going to go with too. I think that 6, it's a really good number. It looks good on a lot of jerseys. I think it'll be pretty cool in Kelly Green. But the one that I'm kind of excited for is to go the rookie route, and I think either Nolan Smith, that it would look all right.
That was my pick. That's the only reason why I made my face.
I got you. But I think, see, I'm not the, I don't know. I think three on an edge rusher is going to kind of look a little weird, a little wonky, but at the same time, it has the potential to look really good too. But the other one, my pick that I'm probably going to end up going with would be Jalen Carter's. Uh, I think that's probably your safest pick as a rookie right now. He's going to rock 98, I believe, ain't it? That's going to be his number. Uh,
think so.
Yep.
It
Yeah,
is?
he's
Okay.
98.
yeah, I think that 98 it'll look really cool in a Kelly Green jersey as well.
Yeah, and to Bryce's point, last year when we went to Philly, and we were going to the Eagles like pro shop, and we were looking at shirts and whatnot because we already had jerseys on. We didn't want to buy another jersey. Bryce went and picked a shirt that said "Let the big dog eat," and it was the Jordan Davis shirt. So Bryce loves some big linemen. That's for sure.
Absolutely, man.
Loves some big dogs. With that being said, Josh, who hasn't been mentioned yet, give me your, we'll call it a sleeper pick of a jersey that you would fork over your hard-earned money for.
Sleeper pick. So one of my first thoughts, not quite a sleeper, might be that Dallas Goddard 88.
That's
I
a
just like
that
88
would
on
look
a
good.
jersey. Goddard be around for a long time. But in terms of a sleeper pick, I'm gonna say Nakobe Dean. I kind of like that 17. Another young defensive player out of Georgia. I think that would be a cool jersey to get.
Oh, yeah, definitely, especially if he pans out this year.
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about him a little bit later in this show. But my pick was going to be Nolan Smith, just because I feel like as from what we have seen now, he's like the bread and butter of like what Philadelphia Eagles fans love. He's got a lot of character, you know. He's funny. He's funny. He works hard. He goes hard. From what we've seen, he's just a lovable guy, man. So like number three on the edge, who cares? Who cares if it looks wonky? It don't matter because at the end of the day, he's gonna be sacking some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Hopefully. So with that being said, Kelly Greens were a hit. They were a hit. Can't couldn't. It was hard to mess it up. It was going to be hard, really hard to mess it up, but they didn't mess it up.
I will
So
say, I will say, I think it would have been pretty cool if they brought back the white version of the Kelly Greens too at some point. I think it would have been kind of hard for that. I don't think that they wouldn't consider that an alternate, would they? That's kind of
They,
a
they would. However, I think the rule is, and I may be completely wrong, but I think you can only introduce like one alternate every year. You can have multiple alternates, but you can only introduce one every year. So I think I heard that they're going to try to do it next year,
that'd be pretty cool.
which would be cool. Here's my actual last question. I was going to move on, but a question popped up in my head. Just real quick, Bryce, should the Kelly Greens be the permanent home and away?
Uh, I don't think so because I think it kind of wash down like the specialness kind of it. Like it's a special thing. Is it was the I don't know, it was the everydays for back in the day. Right now they're bringing it back as an alternate. I think it needs to kind of stay an alternate, but at the same time, I think you need to bring it out for more games. When it gets next year and years after, they need to bring it out more than twice or maybe three or four times, something like that, but not nothing crazy. I'd keep it fresh, keep it special, something like that. I think that'll be something that I think they need to do.
All right, I know you said no, but think about this. You can close your eyes if you want to. All right, you go with it. You go with the link on a Sunday afternoon. They're playing. They're playing the 49ers. They run out the Kelly Greens. Right. You see this at the 50-yard line. You see the old Eagles like wording in the end zone. Tell me you wouldn't want that
Oh yeah, I mean
every
that's
single Sunday or every
when
you know.
when you paint it that way. I guess, yeah, probably, but I don't know. I'm just so set on it being kind of an alternate at the moment, just something you bring out a couple times a year, a few times a year, just to keep it fresh and special. because I have nothing against like the jerseys we have now. I like the midnight green. I think they're pretty nice, but at the same time, when you put it like that, yeah, it sounds like something I need to stay around.
Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it. Now, Josh, I personally think that I like the midnight greens. I'm kind of going back and forth. Do you think that the Kelly greens should be a full time thing, or should you think we should hold on to the midnight greens?
I mean, I have love for both. I am excited to see the Kelly Green, and I do wish we could see more of it. I do appreciate the argument that we should keep it special, keep it like an alternate, so because we don't want to necessarily see it every Sunday. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I was closing my eyes when you were describing the setting, playing the Niners on Sunday, and I just can't say no to that.
Yeah.
So I would be definitely down to flip flop, so like have the Kelly Greens as the default and the Midnight Greens as the alternate. That's probably what I would go for now. It's been a while since we had the Kelly Greens to rock, and I'm all for it for now.
For sure. And ever since we went to Nike, or the NFL went to Nike, I feel like the color of the green for the midnight greens have changed more into, I don't want to call it a midnight blue because that's not an actual color, but it's more of like a midnight blue now instead of like a green.
Yeah,
Because especially if you look at the pictures from the Super Bowl, it looks like we're the Jacksonville Jaguars sometimes. 'Cause, like some of the pictures, it was just blue. It was blue. But with that being said, Kelly Greens were a hit. Thank you to the Eagles for bringing them back. Jeffrey Lurie, love you. But moving on to what we want to talk about, because football is now in full swing, at least for the most part. Let's talk about training camp. Let's talk about training camp. We're obviously not in Philadelphia. We're not the people who write about the birds, so we're not going to be in there watching them with our own eyes. But we can do our own research and go from beat reporter to beat reporter, and kind of create our own opinion on what we think's happening in training camp. So, with that being said, I think the first thing we should talk about is Jalen Hurts. So far, from what I've read and what I've seen, is he's having a great camp. And, the biggest thing that Jalen Hurts needed to improve on was his accuracy. And let me pull up the tweet. I think
he hasn't thrown a pick yet in camp, has he?
he has not
From what I
thrown a
read, he
pick.
hasn't.
But you know who has? Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has thrown multiple picks. But right now, Jalen Hurts, they're keeping track of his stats. He's 56 for 72, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's for 77% completion rate, and no teammates were telling him to shut his bitch ass up. So,
yeah, that's a big
couple of things to take away from there is he's taking care of the ball, which is important. Obviously, you don't want your quarterback throwing interceptions, fumbling the ball like Jalen Hurts did in the Super Bowl. I'm bringing that up because it is a sore spot, and I'm trying to get rid of that sore spot.
Work through it.
Yeah. And he's also still a leader because nobody's telling him to shut up, and they're not trying him. But no, good things. Bryce, you got anything that you want to talk about with Jalen Hurts or anybody else for that matter?
Well, Jalen, I'll hit on him real quick. From what I've read, and I'm sure a lot of us have read, yes, he's looked good in camp, but it's almost not. It's almost like he's not. He's still progressing. Like he's getting better than what he was last year, which is a big plus. Like a lot of players have ceilings to what they can reach, and what we wanted to see was hopefully last year was not his ceiling and that he could continue to get better. From what I've read and stuff like that and heard, listen to podcasts, is that he's continuing to grow mentally, and he's dissecting coverages a lot better than he has in previous years and stuff like that. So that's the biggest thing with me for him is that he's continuing to get better, and he's keeping a lot of fuel and fire uh, in himself to continue to get better.
Yeah, and I think that you know he's still how old is he? 24, 25?
He's like 25, I think.
Yeah, I mean he's still very young and into his his career. So there are a lot of people that are like he's only good because he has a good team around him. However, you don't want to surround your young quarterback with bad talent. So yeah, sure, he has AJ Brown and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goddard and now DeAndre Swift. So like, sure, and the best offensive line in football. So
Yeah,
like, I understand that you hated that your team didn't surround your young quarterback with talent, but he's going to improve, and this is going to set him up for the future because you want to have good years at the start. You don't want to destroy your quarterback's mental because being a quarterback is almost like mental like strength, I guess you want to call it, is pretty important. It's pretty
yeah,
important, and you don't want to destroy somebody's confidence because we've seen many quarterbacks come in and then immediately go out because their confidence and has been destroyed because they weren't surrounded with great talent. Um, on the topic of Jalen Hurts, Josh, have you seen anything that stood out to you besides what we have mentioned, or anything negative?
I really haven't heard anything negative. One thing I do love that I've heard about Hurts, though, you always hear about quarterbacks, like beating you with their arm or beating you with their legs. But I heard Jalen Hurts talk about, beating teams with his brain, which I love. Is just for his continued development to be able to pick defenses apart, read defenses, and just continue to get better. Um, I mean, yeah, I love it. I've heard nothing but great things. One thing I did see actually also is that his phone background is him walking off the field of the Super Bowl, like covered in confetti when the Chiefs won, and just always having that chip on his shoulder, and never getting complacent. Coming off a MVP caliber season. There's a lot to be proud of, obviously, for the year he's coming off of in his progression, but just staying hungry and getting better every day. Couldn't ask
Yeah,
for more.
yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
And so, like, as an Eagles fan, I think we all three can agree that having a quarterback that you can tell he doesn't want to be like complacent. He's not satisfied with what happened last year. And overall, if he comes out this year, wins the MVP, wins the Super Bowl, wins the Super Bowl MVP, he's still going to be like, I could have been a lot better in this aspect of my game. It just doesn't
Hmm.
seem like he is going to be satisfied until his time's like in the NFL is done. And so that's great to have, especially because it's like the complete polar opposite of what I feel like Carson Wentz was, where Carson Wentz he didn't care. I feel like he didn't care at all. It seemed like he was like, I can throw the ball, I can run a little bit, I'm good. But with Jalen Hurts, it seems like a completely different story. Um, Now let's talk about some more offense. Uh, I've seen AJ Brown is still very good at football. I don't know about you guys, but AJ Brown is still good at football, and so is Devonta Smith. So is that a good thing? Absolutely, especially for also an offensive coordinator in his first year being the OC. That's great to have too. Um, then of course we have Quez Watkins calling himself elite. Josh, do you think he's elite? Just real quick.
In a word, no.
I mean, we hope. Let me say this. I hope Quez does good. I hope Quez is great because he still pisses me off because of that one play in February that made me sick to my stomach.
Yeah,
So I hope he does good. And you know what? Be delusional. If you feel like you're elite, you'll probably play a little bit better than what you are. And I hope for his sake and our sakes, he's great. Um,
I'm glad he feels like he has something to prove though. Like that's the biggest thing. Like he himself has come out and said, yeah, I played like shit last year. I'm a lot better than when I put on the field last year. So I'm kind of glad he's got that hunger and fighting in him because there's been a couple players receivers that's come through this team that didn't feel like even though they was being scrutinized that they didn't play bad. So, and they didn't own up to it. So I'm glad to see him at least own up to it and work to get better than what he played like last year.
Yeah, for sure. And we're on the topic of offense. So, I mean, is there anything that stood out to you, Bryce, that you've seen or read at all?
Uh, Going back to DeAndre Swift, I've seen that he's looked really, really good catching the ball in camp and running, but it looks like him being a pass catcher out of the backfield is what his strong suit is and what's gonna be most helpful to this team. Because I mean, you had Miles. Miles had a really good rookie year catching the ball, but other than that, you didn't see an entire lot of Miles catching the ball out of the backfield or running routes or something like that. So before you bring DeAndre Swift in, all you really had on the team was probably Kenny Gainwell that was excelled in catching the ball out of the backfield. Boston was pretty good at it. Boston was all right, but you didn't have one person who's like an immediate threat to come out of the backfield and catch passes and run routes over the middle or because I seen a video of him going in motion the other day, like starting out at receiver, starting out wide, coming across in motion, catching pass out of the backfield. I think that I mean the more weapons you could put around Jalen and put in this offense is gonna excel.
All right. Miles Sanders didn't catch the ball because he had bricks for hands. So, um, you know, the bar was very low whenever you compare what we have now to Miles Sanders. As far as like in the passing game, for sure. So, Josh, we talked about the running backs. Is there anything that we may have missed in the offensive side that stood out to you during this first week of training camp?
This first week of training camp, well, I mean, obviously coming into the off season and coming into the year, we're going to go with the running back by committee. And it is good to see because I was curious, because usually even with the running back by committee, there kind of ends up being a de facto number one.
Yep.
And it's good to see that Swift has taken that role because that's probably who I would have preferred before training camp. Just being able to also, like you said, giving me the passing element and how he can contribute in the passing game, take pressure off of Hurts. Yeah, just really glad to see that. One thing that stood out to me is the develop or how Joseph Nod is coming along. Seems like he has a good chance to make the roster, which I was not expecting necessarily.
Not at
all. I mean, yeah, former 5-star recruit. One of those classic big Clemson receivers. That'll be nice to see how he comes along because that would be an awesome addition.
Yeah, it's funny because I just want to circle back around and be like, hey, we talk about wide receivers. Let's talk about this guy. So, yeah, I've seen nothing but like great things being said about him. And the best part about him is he's shining because we also are very thin on outside receivers. Let me tell you, that guy's not playing the slot. There is no shot in this world he's playing the slot. He's going to be on the outside. He's going to be hopefully a jump ball guy if anything were to happen to Smitty or AJ. So great to see somebody like making plays and impressing, especially like an undrafted guy. That's nice. That's a great story. We talked about it last week. We hope he's not the training or the preseason sweetheart. I hope he's not. I hope he makes the team. I hope he does, just because he seems like he'll be exciting to watch, and we'll get to see a lot of them in the preseason. So, our opinions may change whenever we see them play next Saturday. So that being said, I know Josh wasn't here for the first episode. We made our 53-man, predictions. So we talked about offense. So on the offensive side, do you see any changes? We're not going to talk about the offensive line because it's hard to evaluate offensive line. Other than Brett told your ass, you can't be a center. But is there any changes you think you might want to make to our initial projection?
So, I can't really remember off the top of my head who I slotted in as like the fifth receiver for.
It was Britton Covey.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about Joseph Ngata is I mean, he doesn't have any special teams like experience that I know of coming out of college. So that's like is what's kind of because I don't think they keep more than five. I think five is what they're going to keep. But I may be wrong. They may keep six. If they keep six, I think he's the one that they're gonna keep. But like when it comes to offense, no, I don't see any really changes to my 53 that I put out or that we did. Uh, I don't know. It's gonna be tough for Joseph, but like Josh just said, he's been shining in camp, and so he seems like the number one option to be the darling, the preseason darling to have the best chance to make a roster.
Yeah. And like I said last week, whenever I reference the sweetheart or darling or whatever you want to call it, I'm more so referencing like the Henry Josie type where they shine throughout the preseason, fans fall in love with him, he gets cut, and then he's never to be seen again. So I hope that's not him. I have a couple of changes that I think might surprise some people and it might make people sad. Number one, I think somehow, some way, Tyree Jackson makes the roster at tight end. I don't know who's the odd man out there, but from what I've seen, he's doing his thing in training camp once again. Now that he's healthy, you know, he can make the team. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how he makes the team. Maybe Jack Stoll, because he's not getting first team reps or second team reps. He's like behind Grant.
That's one thing that I forgot about that I was going to bring up. I was listening to the Eagle Eye podcast the other day, and they were talking about why would you keep Jack Stoll on the roster if all he's is good at and is looked at is his blocking aspect? Why not bring somebody onto the roster that has a little bit of upside in both receiving and blocking? Because uh, last year when Tyree had to play a little bit, he played a couple games last year. He didn't do bad with his blocking, and he's got uber athleticism. I never knew that he had that much athleticism being a converted quarterback. So that's one thing that I could see happening, that they keep Tyree over Jack Stoll just based on because if you could teach him how to block, you're getting a pretty good athletic receiver option at tight end who you can teach and mold how to block. So I don't know. It's interesting to me, but like you were saying, Tyree's been playing his ass off in training camp so far.
Yeah. And here's the last one. Josh, are you a Boston Scott fan?
Oh, absolutely.
He's not making the team. Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon is. And here's the reason why. I think with the removal of the kickoffs, now that you can just fair catch it wherever, whenever, get the ball at the 25-yard line, I think that hurts Boston Scott a lot more than people realize. What's sad is I love Boston Scott. I know Bryce likes Boston Scott. Josh to say loves Boston Scott. Everybody that wears Eagles apparel loves Boston Scott, because when we play against the Giants, if you're a betting person, anytime touchdown, Boston Scott, you hammer that one down. So, with that being said, Trey Sermon has gotten nothing but praise throughout all of training camp so far, and it'll be fun to watch him play in the preseason too, just to see where he's at. But it seems like the Eagles love Trey Sermon, and Boston Scott may just be like the odd man out, which is sad. Which is so sad.
Yeah. Did you guys see the videos that came out today of Rashad Penny and AJ Brown taking kickoff return reps in practice today?
I did not.
Yeah. Them two were practicing returning kickoffs. If that means anything to y'all, I'm not gonna make a lot of it because I don't see it happening. Rashad Penny, he's got special teams experience. He played kickoff return at San Diego State when he was coming out, but there's no way in hell am I putting AJ Brown back there to return a kickoff.
Yeah. Now maybe they're doing that so they can maybe get Britt Covey on the practice squad, and that would open up a spot for one of the two people we just mentioned. If they don't want to get rid of like Boston Scott, So, like I said, I'm sorry. Sorry I had to say Boston Scott's not going to make the team. I just don't think he's going to make the team unless something happens, which is, like I said, which is so sad. So sad. But last thing I'll say, and then we'll move on to defense. Marcus Mariota is struggling. Every time I open up that Twitter X app, I see Marcus Mariota drop the ball. He can't make a pass. A lot of it is the center sucks. The offensive line that's blocking for him suck. Maybe suck is the wrong word, but they're not great. So he's still struggling, but hopefully we don't have to worry about Marcus Mariota. Who cares, right? We're gonna put that in the air. We don't care about Marcus Mariota because Jalen Hurts is going to play all 17 games, fully healthy, and then he's going to play 3 more fully healthy. So that's all. That'll wrap up the offense. Defense. I know Bryce has a couple things to say based on what we spoke about earlier. So Bryce, kick us off. Defense. Give us something. Give us a highlight that you want to bring up, or a player you want to bring up.
I'm going to talk about the rookies so far. It seems like Sidney Brown, he went from third team up to second team. So whatever that wants to tell you, he's making strides in camp. He's looked a lot better. Keely Ringo today, he made a pretty athletic play on the ball. They were working on red zone 11 on 11 drills, and he broke up a pass from Jalen Hurts on Devontae Smith. Almost had a pick. It seems like Keely. There hasn't been anything a whole lot said about Keely, and like you always say, Chase, I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. But today he was talked about for the first time that I've seen, and it was all positives. So it seems like, well, for one, the Eagles would be ecstatic if he could play well enough to be your top corner, like top backup corner, because I think he's got, like I was telling you earlier, Chase, I think he has more upside playing corner and excelling at corner than he does, say, if he makes a transition to safety. I think he's a good safety if that ever is the case, but I think if he's a good corner when it comes time, I think he's more than a good corner, if that makes sense. He's an elite corner. Compared to just being an all right safety. But like Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, I've heard nothing but good things about them. Nolan Smith has been kicking everybody's ass apparently off the edge, and Jalen Carter. You wanted to talk about Brett Toth earlier. Absolutely demolished Brett Toth today, apparently in one-on-ones. If that means a lot to anybody, but it
Means a
seems
lot
like
to
it's all
me.
it seems like it's all positives coming from your defensive rookies right now. Haven't heard a lot about Moro Ajomo, but I mean he's a 7th round pick. You're not gonna probably hear a two ton of a lot, but I don't know.
He's there. He's trying. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know Bryce covered a lot. Josh, is there anything that he missed that you want to talk about?
One thing I wanted to touch on, Mario Goodrich, getting first team reps at nickel. Definitely didn't expect that. I know my personal preference in years past has been to put Maddox in the slot there, but he's probably better suited at safety, and he does have those injury issues. So to have somebody else who's at least in training camp, worthy of getting those first team reps, I think it's a great sign.
Yeah. Was it Goodrich that laid the hit on who was it? No?
It was that undrafted corner out of LSU, that Mekhi Garner.
Mekhi, yeah. He's not making the team, but good hit. Good on you. A couple things to wrap up. I guess defense is Josiah Scott has, in any article I've read, it's been he's lost. He's getting cooked. He's doesn't know what he's doing. And for all of us that have watched the games in the past year or so, anytime he has played, he's looked lost and not good. So hopefully he gets knocked off the team. Kayvon Wallace is still getting first team reps from what I read. Why?
Chase, it seems like we're gonna get our feelings hurt. This guy might be good again, or good now.
He's not. He's not. It's not happening. So Kayvon Wallace is getting first team reps. I think Sidney Brown. Jones is in my head every time I say Sidney, and I'm going to struggle with this the whole year if we talk about him. Sidney Brown is going to take over that spot. And a couple things. Another thing I want to mention about, because we're talking about safeties, and this will tie into our next conversation, is I feel like the safety is going to have a big linebacker role, just because our linebacker situation, which we'll touch on later on. Christian Ellis is getting first team reps, which I think you and I kind of talked about that last week. It was going to happen.
Good on him, man.
Yeah.
Good story. I don't know if like you was talk about our linebacker situation here later. I don't know if it's because Nicholas Morrow sucks, but Christian Ellis is just playing really well right now. So
yeah.
I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, and I mean the projection for the defense is kind of just up in the air. I haven't seen anything to change my mind about anything really, except for the linebackers. So we want to talk about that now. Great transition, Chase. Awesome. So let's talk about the linebackers. So Nakobe Dean has from what I've read, just he's having a quiet camp, and so whenever he was in Georgia, his strengths were run defense and blitzing, right? So where does he struggle at a little bit? Pass coverage. And every one of our linebackers right now are struggling in pass coverage. So A, what's the fix? And then B, how are we going to fix it? Because we can't just run guys two down linebackers all season long. We got to have somebody that can play 3 downs. And so far, Nicholas Morrow just isn't. I don't think he's going to make the team. I don't think he's going to make the team at all.
Really?
Yeah, I think somebody's going to get brought in. The linebacker is the position that I think we're going to bring somebody in. We're going to make a trade. We have picks. Something's got to happen. Hell, give me Michael Kendricks back at this point. I think he might be going to jail still or something. I don't remember that situation. But
yeah, I think he was. Last time I checked, he was going to jail. He was going to prison.
If you're not in jail for your stock thing, come back. It's bad. It's bad. Nakobe Dean's quiet. Nicholas Morrow, not good. Christian Ellis is showing signs of life, but it's still not good. They've been throwing Edmonds at dime linebacker, which is what we said would happen, except I said Sidney Brown. My apologies. I got that one wrong. But, Bryce, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen in this linebacker room?
Like we talked about it, I still think this is probably the room that you bring somebody in, because if what they're talking about is actually happening in training camp right now, it's about to be a long ass season for that linebacker room. You know what I mean? It's not looking good, not looking promising. And it's not that Nakobe Dean has been bad. It's just he's not making enough plays to be noticed. If that makes some sense. He's okay right now, apparently. And we haven't seen a whole lot of him. He made some flashes last year. I think this linebacker room, I don't think there's anybody that's going to sit out a preseason. I don't think they're going to let anybody sit out. I think they're going to have to play a lot of snaps in preseason just to see where we're at. And I think that's when Howie could probably start making moves. Is after that second preseason game, he's like, all right, this shit ain't working. We're gonna have to look elsewhere. But I think we just got to give Nakobe some more time. I'm not so quick to write him off yet, but it's not where you want to be after. You don't want to have a big question mark. You can have some question marks within the room, within a couple players, like a player here. You know about the other two. You don't know about this one. You know what I mean? You don't want to have a question mark on the whole damn room.
Yeah.
And that's what it is right now.
Yeah. And, I know you mentioned it, but this is Nakobe Dean's second year. This is going to be his first year starting. Hopefully he starts, because if he doesn't start, we're going to have a more serious problem. But like, this might be the year where we just play to his strengths, and it's going to suck because his pass coverage skills are okay, but he's undersized, so he's going to have to guard a tight end, and tight ends are just probably going to outmuscle him. Or
you got Darren Waller in the division now, and he's
yeah.
astronomically taller than Nakobe Dean.
So you're going to have to cater to his strengths. So blitzing, just stopping the run, which is it's good. That's good. It's good to have as a linebacker. But boy, when third down comes around, somebody's got to be in there. And
I was about to say, there's no way you can take him off the field.
Yeah. So, real quick, Bryce, give me a trade target that we should look out for.
Queen. I think that's the consensus one that's flying around the community, but at the same time, I think that's the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
He's coming off a okay year last year. It's all right, but at least you know what you're getting with him. It makes sense. He's all right in pass coverage. He's he's good at stopping the run. Not a big blitzer, uh, but I think that's the consensus one that's going around. And I don't think it's going to take a lot to get him. Like I said last episode, maybe third, fourth round pick, maybe. If you can get him for that, I think you absolutely do it. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, Josh, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're freaking out and you're scared to death. Give me where you're at with this linebacker room.
As it is, assuming we don't make a move, and I do think we will make a move at some point, which would definitely bring the number down a bit. I'm going to be honest. I'm at like a 7 or 8. I'm definitely, there's question marks all over the room. Nakobe Dean, I do think he's going to be better long term. I think a lot of us getting the most out of him is just going to be getting reps and getting comfortable with the team, like showing his leadership. But as it stands, I think that's hands down our weakest position right now.
For sure. And like just a year ago, people were, they were calling him the steal of the draft. So it's not like he's just this guy. He has potential. It will take time, and I think
we have heard some good things about him though. Like he's already got the green dot,
it's a great thing.
which I thought they were going to give it to Nicholas Morrow over Nakobe.
That's a bad thing.
That is at the start of camp, before camp started. That's where I thought they were going. For him to already have the green dot and not even play a full season yet is a good thing. That's another big thing that was with him at Georgia. Is just he's smarter than everybody else, and his leadership qualities are. It's like you got Jalen Hurts on the opposite side of the ball, is what I've read. Like all the Georgia guys talk extremely high of him. So that's a good thing. But other than that, I don't like we've been talking about this time. It's just not a biggest fan of having question marks all over the room. I'm fine with a few here and there, but the whole room can't be a question mark.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say about this situation, especially like with Nakobe Dean, Nicholas Morrow, I'm not a fan of you. I'm sorry. I don't think you're gonna make the team. So this is about Nakobe Dean. For anybody that's ever played football or just sports in general, that you could probably suck at practice, but when it comes game time, it's like a whole different feeling. It's a whole different game. Things click whenever you have to make it click.
Some people are like that. Some people are exactly like that.
Yeah, so like the intensity is so much greater during a game than in practice. It's August. It's super hot out there. I wouldn't want to try my hardest, but at the same time, when the lights come on and it's Sunday, and you're lined up and you got a chance to make a play, you're going to make that play. You're not going to let it slip. But so give Nakobe time. Don't give Nicholas Morrow time. He had his time. He came from the Bears. Bears are
I don't know why. Why are you so quick to write him off right now? Because I haven't seen anything so shitty about him, That like you're talking about him like he is awful.
Uh,
I just don't see it yet.
remember that? Remember how you felt about Kazir White?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It makes
yeah,
a lot. It
yeah,
makes a lot of
yeah. I was like, Kazir White's not that bad. I was like, he's cool, and you were like, nah, he sucks. He's terrible. Get him off the team. I was like, okay, but that's how I feel right now. Cause like I wanted him to be, like I wanted him to come to camp and be like this guy. They're like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna be great. This guy's gonna be like solidified number 2 because they were going to give Nakobe number 1 regardless. That was the plan. But I wanted him to come in and be like this solid number 2 linebacker. And from what I've read, he just hasn't been like that number 2 linebacker. Christian Ellis has been a more number 2 than him. And that's why I'm like, you're not going to make the team, bud. Like, see you later.
So, do you think they keep Sean Bradley over him?
I think because of special
Over
teams, yeah.
Nicholas Morrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because of special teams. So
I wanted to ask Josh a question. Josh, is there another name out there that you think that they could possibly trade for?
Yeah, I actually have 2 guys in mind. One that I've heard, it's been a little while since I heard rumors about him, but one was Isaiah Simmons from Arizona.
Yeah.
I wanted him back when he was drafted. I just love his, absolute freak athlete. You can put him all over the field. I think he'd be a great fit. We could do a lot of things with him on defense. The one I've heard more recently that would probably take more to get, and he'd probably end up being a rental, is Devin White from Tampa. Now, I don't think we're going to trade for him. We never invest heavily in linebacker like that. But if there was one guy that's potentially available that I would love to get, it would be him.
yeah. I think those are 2 good options right there, along with Bryce's pick. I do think that you had to either make a trade or a late offseason signing for linebacker or safety. You can't leave both of them how they are now. And I know we talked that maybe the safety room will surprise us and play above expectations, but at the same time, you have 2 holes, what it seems like, and linebacker and safety, which you can't have 2 holes right there. That's not good. That's not good to go into the season. So
Very important spots on your defense.
Yeah, either you get killed in the middle of the field or you're going to get killed deep. So, I do like the young players we have, but I think we should try to make a move at one of those spots just to solidify the defense a little bit more. So with that being said, we talked about the first week. And so every week we do this, we're going to give our stock ups and our stock downs. So we're going to take the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, tell you who's good, who's bad. So Bryce, we'll start with you. You did defense, right? You got
yes,
defense?
sir.
We're going to start with a stock up. So we're going to start positive, and then we're going to end with the negatives. So Bryce, take it away.
Okay, so for my stock up, number 1, I actually have 2 players like slash. It's Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. So with them 2, you knew what you could potentially have coming in, but throughout this first week of camp, they've kind of solidified what they are. Not bust so far. If the season was 1 week of training camp,
we won the draft.
you hit a home run. But for them 2 right now, I think their biggest thing that they need is reps amongst the veterans, like within the first team. I see a lot of Nolan Smith is coming off this with the second team and getting some slight first team reps. And with Jalen Carter, he's rotating in with the first team. Me personally, I think Jalen Carter is going to end up starting over Fletcher at some point this year. I think it's going to be Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Hassan Reddick. I think that's going to be your 4 at some point in this year, which is fine with Fletcher. That's not a shot at Fletcher, but Fletcher's just getting old. He can be a situational pass rusher. I don't think he plays as many snaps as he did last year. He played a lot of snaps last year.
You got gas towards the end.
Yeah, way more than I expected he was going to. So with them 2, they're on my stock up. My second one is actually Reed Blankenship.
Ghost.
Oh, yeah. So he has actually been playing pretty well in training camp. Like we'll go back to what uh we talked about earlier. Um, if no news is good news, that's at some points, and with Reed Blankenship, I think no news is about the best that you can have right now. Uh, coming into this year, I think he was the one safety in this room that didn't have a question mark beside him. I think he was the one that was surefire going to start. I was a little bit higher on him than I am with Terrell Edmonds. But that's my second stock up, and my third stock up is Christian Ellis. We've talked enough about Christian Ellis this entire podcast for me to have to go into detail about him.
No, tell me more. Tell me more. I want to hear about it.
Well,
He's one of my favorites.
undrafted guy coming into the year thinking he's just going to play special teams. That was my thinking. I thought there was no way in hell he was seeing the field on defense, but apparently he's pretty good. So he's my third stock up.
Cool, cool. Josh, I had you take the horns with the offense. So give me your stock ups for the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first guy I just wanted to bring attention to, I mean, we did talk about him earlier, is DeAndre Swift. Him, coming out as a big element in the passing game has been a pleasant surprise. I know he did average around 50 catches a year in Detroit, but just seeing that we're going to actually really be able to have that screen pass element and just a receiving threat out of the backfield, I think will be great for the offense this year. I know we traditionally haven't thrown to our running backs a ton under Sirianni, but I think that's also been because we haven't really had the personnel to do it. So I'm excited to see what we can do with Swift this season. The next guy that I wanted to bring up was Joseph Nada. I mean, we also talked about him earlier, but just seeing an undrafted rookie perform the way he has seems like he's got a great chance to make the roster. You gotta appreciate that. Um, I think, yeah, I mean, he has all the talent in the world. Being a former 5-star and just being one of those, like I said before, just one of those big Clemson receivers. Good to see that he's outperforming expectations.
Okay, that's good. That's great.
Yeah. And then just lastly, this is actually a group, but really like I call them like the main four of the receiving or the passing game: Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. I mean, they've all looked good in training camp. You expect them to look good, but it's always good to for them to keep that up.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they've all looked great. They've all looked like they're not missing a step from last year, and poised for another great season.
Oh yeah. For those of you who are just listening to the audio version of this, anytime that my boy from Clemson is mentioned in a good way, I'm smiling from ear to ear. I can't stop smiling about it. I'm excited just to see what happens with him. And like I said, anytime I've read stock up, stock downs, or like who's done good this practice or whatnot, I see his name on there. It's a great thing. It's a great thing for all of us, I think.
Case if he doesn't catch one ball next Saturday against in the preseason game against the Ravens, please don't cry.
I won't cry. I will cry if he turns into a Travis Fulgham. That'll make me cry because we mentioned this last week. I want to mention it again. Travis Fulgham stole my heart for 4 weeks. I was going to buy his jersey, and
the best player in the NFL for 4 weeks. What are we talking about?
What a time to be alive whenever Travis Fulgham was running downfield for the Eagles. But let's move on to some of the negative stuff to wrap up the show, I guess. Bryce, give me your defensive stock downs. Nicholas Morrow better be on there.
So, my number one is actually Nakobe Dean. Yeah, that's my number one. We've talked about him a lot this podcast, just like with Christian Ellis. But at the same time, the stock down necessarily isn't like a bad thing. It's just kind of underwhelming. With Nakobe, like we talked about, I just think he needs time, man. I think he needs time and reps. I'm not going to get too much into him. My stock down number two would be Terrell Edmonds. Terrell's been, I mean, it's not. I haven't heard a lot. I haven't heard bad things about him. Um, you kind of just want to see more than what you're actually seeing now from him or hearing from him. Um, and my number three, I will go with Nicholas Morrow. Chase hates this guy. Chase wishes he never touches the field. Um, I think he's going to be. I still think he's going to be on the team. I think he's going to be linebacker two over Christian Ellis. Um, but you're like Chase talked about earlier. You're not seeing what you were hoping to see from him coming in to training camp. So he's my stock down right now at this moment.
Yeah. So I want to touch upon a couple of things just so we make ourselves clear and we're all on the same page here. As far as Nicholas Morrow, I hope he does good. I hope he does good. I hope he makes the team. I hope he's a star. I hope he's the best linebacker we ever had in the history of linebackers. Just want to touch on that. Now, I know you mentioned Nakobe Dean as one of your stock down players. It's only stock down because when you look at the expectation going into the season of what we want Nakobe Dean to be, and it's honestly not fair to Nakobe Dean just because we saw 10 plays against the Titans, and we were like, man, this guy's gonna be great. And sure, he tackled Derrick Henry a couple of times, but I mean, it's such a small sample size.
His hype honestly started from the moment he was drafted. Like they were thinking he was going to end up trying to push for a starting spot last year. I never saw it happening, even though wasn't the biggest Kaiser White fan. Hated that guy.
You did.
But it started absolutely from the moment he was drafted. Like we were like, oh, I've seen some asinine, crazy things around the community on Twitter when he got drafted, like that he was, oh, this is a Hall of Famer, blah blah blah, all this crazy stuff. I'm like, man, he's a fourth round pick for a reason. Like, there's a reason he fell this far. Maybe whether that be they had injury concerns on him or something, or his size, whatever it may be. His hype was so big from the very moment he was drafted. His back, like it was an uphill climb already immediately. So I think everybody kind of needs to slow down a little bit, chill out, see what we got within preseason, even the first couple games within the year, and then we can start talking about what we need to do moving forward. But like I said, I just think he needs time more than anything.
We got him in the fourth round.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I thought second round. Who did we get in the second round last year?
Who was the second round pick last year? There's Jordan Davis. I might have to look it up.
Did we trade the second round? I can't remember. Meanwhile, while Bryce looks that up, Josh, give us the offensive letdowns.
So the first letdown, I have to say, is Marcus Mariota. I mean, all things considered, that's a pretty good person to have be a letdown because, if all goes well, he will never see the field as an Eagle. And I hope he never plays a single snap. So, I mean, yeah, definitely. If you can have anybody have a shaky training camp, I'd rather it be backup quarterback than anybody who's going to get any substantial playing time. Next, I was going to say, kind of a fringe guy to begin with, but Devin Allen, I think, is definitely his stock's gone down, partially because he's missed some of training camp with the calf injury, but with Quez Watkins kind of trying to come on more. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. The guy we got from Atlanta, Olamide Zaccheaus, is that how you say it?
Olamide.
That's
Olamide.
It's either Olamide or Olamide.
Or Olamide.
I've heard two different pronunciations of it.
From this point forward on this podcast, we're going to call him OZ.
OZ. I like that.
That'll work.
OZ, and of course, to bring him up for the umpteenth time today, Joseph Nada, obviously outperforming. I mean, like I said, Devin Allen was a fringe guy to begin with. I do like the former Olympic level track athlete turned receiver story, but yeah, I mean, he was already a long shot, and I think at this point he's really got he's hoping for the practice squad at best.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's your last one?
One more. It's kind of like a group, but really like the backup offensive line.
Oh yeah.
Now that's probably contributed to Mariota having a shaky training camp, but they've just looked just outmatched.
Brett Toth got his ass kicked by Jalen Carter, by the way. I'll go ahead and say it again.
He did. But yeah, I mean, just I know that because obviously our starting offensive line is the best in the league, and so hopefully, the backups won't matter too much. I know we do like to give some guys rest once in a while, but yeah, they've definitely looked shaky. They've been definitely some question marks there as well. But I mean, I'm confident that they'll get their act together.
Yeah, I mean, we got the best offensive line coach in the league too. So
No doubt about it.
Yeah, so any questions about the line, he can fix it. Touching up on Marcus Mariota, we discussed it earlier, but the offensive line probably could be the biggest contributor to him not, playing his best. But you also got to realize, what you have with Marcus Mariota. He's been in the league for 7-8 years now. He's not good with deep ball. He's better. He's more of a mobile quarterback than I would say a dual threat quarterback. So it's like medium to short passes. So you're going to lose a lot of your deep game with him in. Like we said, we hope he doesn't have to play. We pray to God he doesn't have to play. Devin, you got something to say about Marcus?
No, I was just gonna throw in a stock up for an offense real quick.
Go for it.
Tyler Steen. From what I've seen, he's played pretty well in camp so far. He had a really good rep against Jalen Carter. Yes, it was either 2 days ago or it was either today or 2 days ago when the open practices was. But he's cross training still. He got some left tackle snaps in today, which is cool. I mean, that's fine. You don't necessarily want him to play left tackle because that means Mailata has went down at some point.
Doesn't he have T-Rex arms too?
Yeah, he's a little short in the arms, but he needs to be a guard. That's what he absolutely needs to be. But it's still cool to see that he's still kind of cross training at both positions, just in case anything bad happens. Which I think he still needs to be the starting guard over Cam Jurgens. But I don't know. I just want to throw his name in the hat there for a minute.
No, I'm glad you did because I was going to touch on this too. Let me talk about Devin Allen first. So Devin Allen, he showed up. Last year, I believe it was against the Browns, if I'm not mistaken. That's when he blew out the defense and he showed off his Olympic speed that he has. And if he could just commit the football, and I'm not asking him to commit. Nobody's really asking him to commit the football because if your heart's in Olympic, I think he does the hurdles.
Hurdles.
Yeah,
hurdles.
So if your heart's in it, that's what you want to do that. Football can come second, but you're not going to make the team if you don't do that. So he has the potential to be this guy. You're hey, send him out there, tell him to go deep. He's either going to open up the middle of the field or he's going to be deep and he's going to beat the safety or the cornerback depending on the scheme. So, I wish he would not get hurt so we could see him play, and then B, I wish he could commit a little more to football. But like I said, we're not going to ask him to do that, especially if his first love is going to be the hurdles. Tyler Steen. So obviously right now, Marcus Mariota is getting bad snaps from Brett Toth. Guess what? You're not going to have Brett Toth touch the ball come the regular season. So who's going to take over at backup center? Unfortunately for the Eagles, their backup center is currently getting first-team reps at right guard. So doomsday scenario here. Jason Kelce goes down. Now you're going to slide Cam Jurgens over to center, and Tyler Steen, who's not really getting first-team reps, not going up against the best of the best. You're going to throw him out there? There's an easy fix to this. Put Tyler Steen out there at guard. Let him get the first-team reps, and let Cam Jurgens just be the center and the backup center. because there is no reason to take away these valuable reps from Tyler Steen, especially if he's as good or almost as good as Cam Jurgens is. Plus, like you and I mentioned last week, Jason Kelsey's also small, like undersized. So putting an undersized center next to an undersized right guard, you put your biggest, meanest guy between those two, they're going to put up a pretty good fight, but they're going to get tired quick.
Yeah.
That's just the way the world works. So put another big guy next to him, next to Jason Kelsey, and like preserve him. You know, you don't want to like drain him of like every ounce of energy he has left in his tank, which, you know, this could be his last year. So put Tyler Steen there, and Cam Jurgens can sit for one more year and, you know, learn the system again. And just like take his next step. And then back up offensive line. Only people I care about is Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, Dennis Kelly, and then maybe Jack Driscoll. Everybody else kick rocks. I don't care if you make the team or not. We're good where we're at as long as nobody gets hurt. So with that being said, Bryce, anything you want to add to anything we talked about today?
Nakobe Dean is actually a 3rd-round pick instead of 4th.
Oh, there it was. All we gotta do is meet in the middle. Yep. So, Josh, anything you'd like to add about today's episode? Get your final word in.
No, I mean, it was a great being here. Looking forward to future episodes, and go Birds.
Yeah, for sure. He knew the password. That's why we let him in. If you want to be part of this podcast, just say go Birds. With that being said, you can find us on all our socials at The Link Lineup, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. It's X now. I'm sorry. I gotta get used to that. I gotta get used to the X thing. You know, we'll be uploading our video version on YouTube and our audio version on your favorite podcast platform. So be sure to check us out there. If you do like us, leave us a review on the podcasting stuff. If you like us on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, tell us your favorite Eagle all time. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. And, you know, go Birds.
Go Birds.